It's a little after 9, maybe 9:05. Sky dark hasn't quite been achieved yet. I can still see some blue in the sky. We're having a look at that nice edge-on galaxy, NGC 4216. I'm going to skip around briefly while waiting for sky dark, and we'll get a sense. I changed the screen intensity a little bit, brightening up the screen. We'll see whether or not I'm going to drop it down a little bit. It looks like a pretty flat screen on the Sony Handycam display. I probably have to drop it down a little bit. Let's experiment with that a little bit. So here we are. I'm going to go to the settings, current settings for screen brightness. This should be set to 50%, and it is. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go into the imager itself, to the picture adjust function. And let's run it down to 125. Now note, what we're going to see is we're going to see the screen brightness. It's going to take a little bit. We're not actually seeing any change directly yet. So let's give it. You notice how it's stepping down in brightness. What we want to avoid is having too big of a declivity of variation between the bottom of the screen and the top. That looks pretty good, but keep in mind the sky isn't quite dark yet. So let's leave it at this setting and then go on to another galaxy. Galaxies we've already imaged. I'll come back to this one later on, probably as a baseline, if it doesn't advance too far by the time it gets dark. Okay, the plan for this evening is to cover a lot of ground, and I'm going to try to stay with 12th and brighter magnitude galaxies. These are all galaxies you should be able to detect on a good night of seeing through a 6-inch scope at the eyepiece. Of course, through a 6-inch scope, all you'll be seeing is the core of the galaxy, and you'll only be able to determine it is other than a star because you'll use either averted vision or eye movement, depending upon the transparency, to see that it's fuzzy rather than being distinct, like a star would be. So here we're on to NGC 4224, already imaged, galaxy in Virgo, magnitude 11.8, 2.5 by 1 arc-minute spiral, with a lowercase a, which means once removed from lenticular class, 83 million light years distant. We're at plus 7.5 degrees. I'm going to stay above the celestial equator in the sky's middle third this evening because I would like to capture some nice images. And the galaxy seems to be, the core of the galaxy is present right there. I'm going to go ahead and play with the brightness setting to see if I can enhance it at all. Okay, here I've dropped the brightness, the setting on the Rev 2 imager itself, down to 120 from 125. Well, we're beginning to see a little bit of a contrast between this part of the screen and the brighter half. Not too bad. Let's move on to another galaxy, and you can see NGC 4224 right there, the core of the galaxy with hints of extension. Once again, we have yet to achieve sky dark. We've seen this sweetie before. This is NGC 4228, another galaxy in Canis Venatici. It's also NGC 4214, magnitude 9.8, large, 8.4 by 7.2 arc-minute irregular galaxy. So it's a galaxy at the beginning of the process of formation. We're at plus 36 and change degrees in declination, 12 hour 15 minutes. This galaxy is a mere 10.8 million light years distant, which means it's probably somewhere close to the bounds of the local group of galaxies. May or may not, I would have to do some research on it. But there we have a pretty decent view. You can see four fuzzy regions associated with the galaxy. Off to the 2 o'clock position, off to the 1 o'clock position, closer to the core, and there's a faint amount of nebulosity off to the 7 o'clock position, close to the core as well. So there's our look at NGC 4228. Once again, pre-sky dark, but we're very close to the zenith at this point. Good view, no obstruction of the aperture. Okay, developing on the screen right now is NGC 4233, Galaxy in Virgo. It's at plus 7.5 degrees. Well, I think I've imaged it before. It's also sub 12 magnitude. Magnitude 11.9, 2.4 by 1.1, sub-oblately aspected. Spiral with a bar, but it's of the lenticular class, 108 million light years distant. I think I said something about the redshift associated with 100 millions of light years. That's actually the closest galaxies that they have confidence that the redshift is actually giving some sense of the actual distance, and it has less to do with gravitational bind forces, for instance, in the Virgo group, which can cause galaxies to move in space, inducing a sense of a redshift that isn't related to their distance. The other thing I said is probably about 0.1, but it's 0.01, 1/100th of a shift in the spectrum associated with 140 to 150 million light year distant galaxies. I have to nail that down, but I recommend you watch Mathematica Galactica, a previous video in this series where I discuss the redshift. Not too far from NGC 4233 is NGC 4235. I did hear some stepper clicks. So the Galaxy in Virgo, magnitude 11.6, largish, 3.9 by 0.9 arc minutes. So a super above Edge-on status on that one with about a 4:1 aspect ratio. This one's 100 million light years distant. We're at plus 7 and change in terms of declination. And the galaxy is quite present on the screen. Here we have NGC 4237, another galaxy in Gamma Berenices, magnitude 11.6, 2.1 by 1.4 arc minutes of super oblate, which should have a 2:1 aspect ratio. This is a little less than that. Complicated galaxy, spiral with a bar, lowercase bc, so 2.5 times removed from lenticular class 0 or Z, and this galaxy is 54 million light years and distant and displays a ring. So you should get a sense of curvature somewhere out on the border of the aura of the galaxy. And it shouldn't be too far out given it's only 2.1 arc minutes in size, which means not the size of the tip of my finger. It seems to be oriented more along that line right there. Should be seeing here NGC 4241, another galaxy in Virgo, magnitude 11.9, 1.7 by 1.4 arc minutes. 110 million light year distance, spiral with a bar and lowercase c, 3 times removed from lenticular Z. It's at plus 6.5 degrees in declination. I'm having a little trouble picking this one out. Are we getting clouds? I trust not. Wow, a little disappointed here because the night looked like it was going to prove to be very decent night of seeing. So let's move on. This should be a beauty. Unfortunately, we're getting a little aperture block because we're at plus 30, almost 38 degrees in declination. NGC 4244 is a galaxy in Canis Venatici. Magnitude 10.4, but it's 15.9 by 1.8 arc minutes. So we're talking here about something with a 7:1 aspect ratio. So it is quite a brilliant edge-on galaxy that you can see right there on the screen. Wow, I'm glad we caught this one. Spiral of class C, so 3 times removed from lenticulars, only a mere 12.4 million light years distant. I would say this galaxy is probably somewhere around 50 to 60,000 light years in diameter. And it's probably very close to being part of the local group. But boy, does this one span the screen. What a gorgeous view. I'll allow it to continue to develop as I continue to search for sub-12th magnitude galaxies in range. Oh, here's another one, plus 29 degrees, so let's go there next. Wow. As the ghost of 4244 disappears from the screen, we're looking at NGC 4245, galaxy in Coma Berenices. It's magnitude 11.4, largish, 3.3 by 2.4 arc minutes, basically a football-shaped galaxy, aspect ratio, spiral with a bar, and lenticular lowercase a with a ring. So it's half removed from the Z-class lenticulars, which I use as a baseline for galactic maturity. Lenticulars have about the brightest overall star formation, with the youngest stars possible in a very mature galaxy. After lenticular class, you move into the ellipticals. The stars are getting fainter, smaller, and older, and there's less nucleating material to be able to form the Bach globules, which are the first stage of stellar formation. Anyway, because this is a lenticular with a bar, it means it's got a recent spur of star formation around the core. Very bright galaxy indeed. All right, it's about 9:30, and I want to start probing for how deep we can go in the sky. It looks pretty good up there. NGC 4249 is another galaxy in Virgo, magnitude 14.8, smallish, 0.5 by 0.5 arc minutes, spiral with a lowercase a, 121 million light years distance, so it should be close to 1% red shift, 0.01. We're at plus 5.5 degrees. And we haven't progressed very far in terms of right ascension. We're at 12 minutes, almost 12 hour, almost 18 minutes in declination. Let's have a look for that galaxy up here. This should be higher in the screen because we're further south. I'm going to have to inspect it tomorrow. I am going to declare it sky dark at this point, so we should be able to pull this one off, except there could be high thin clouds. We have another brightish galaxy, NGC 4251. It's in Coma Berenices. Magnitude 10.7, 3.6 by 2.5 arc minutes. So it's kind of small for a 10.7. Well, maybe on a smaller size. Spiral with a bar of lenticular class, and it has a ring. This galaxy is roughly 44 million light years distant, so it's not that big, maybe 40 to 50,000 light years in diameter. We are at plus 28 and change degrees in declination. The galaxy is quite present on the screen. Here we have our first Messier class galaxy of the evening. We started around 4216. This is NGC 4254, galaxy in Coma Berenices, magnitude 9.9, largish, 5.3 by 4.6 arc minutes, so nearly face on. Spiral of C class, which means 3 times removed, as you might remember. 67 million light years distant. Given that distance, I'd say it's about the size of our own Milky Way, 90 to 100,000 light years in diameter. There's lots of spiralicity present on the screen, and it actually extends out quite a ways off towards the 7 o'clock position where its tip is located. We're at plus 14.5 degrees. Enjoy this as I continue to scan. Our next one is another Messier class, M106. Okay, I'm having some trouble. I went too far north for M106, so we're going to have to skip around and see if we can find another study. I'm going to start with NGC 4250 and go on from there. NGC 4260 is another galaxy in Virgo, magnitude 11.8, 2.4 by 1.2 arc minutes, spiral with a bar, lowercase ab, 1.5 times removed from lenticular, 64 million light years distant. We're at plus 6 and change degrees in declination. It's quite present, of course, on the screen, as should any 12th magnitude galaxy that we turn up this evening, culminating either towards the zenith or to the south, down to the celestial equator, which is our parameters. 12th magnitude brighter, and the sky's middle third. NGC 4261 has a brilliant core with a slight extension. It's Magnitude 10.4, 3.8 by 3.5 arc-minute elliptical 2 class, which means it's almost purely circular. The elliptical galaxy is about 101 million light years distant, so it puts it about the size of our, maybe a little larger than our own Milky Way. As mentioned earlier, elliptical galaxies are very mature. They've converted a lot of their star stuff over to the stars. Many of the stars in them are much older, but their density is much higher. They're brilliant, and there's less obscuration nebula to block the light emanating forth from them. And here's a great view of an elliptical class 2, magnitude 10.4 and largest, 3.8 by 3.5 arc-minutes in size. We have another sub-12th magnitude galaxy and an NGC 4262 in Gamma Berenices, magnitude 11.6, smallish, 1.8 by 1.6 arc-minutes. Typically like to see 12th magnitude galaxies in the 2 arc-minute size range. This is a spiral, the lenticular class, with a bar, 60 million light years distant. I'm hoping we're going to see some extension of its aura. I see it's very brilliant on the screen. So it has a lot of condensation of stars in it. We're at plus almost 15 degrees in declination. NGC 4267 is a 10.9 magnitude galaxy in Virgo, 3 by 2.8 arc-minutes, so pretty much face on. It's a spiral of the lenticular class with a bar, and that doesn't mean they serve drinks. 57 million light years distant. We're at plus almost 13 degrees in declination. Once again, the core is very intense. I'm seeing some extensions, however, towards the 930 and 330 positions on this 10.9 magnitude lenticular spiral, which is almost face on. NGC 4273, another galaxy in Virgo. This is at plus 5.5 degrees in declination. Magnitude 11.9, 2.3 by 1.5 arc-minutes. It's about the size I would expect in a 12th magnitude galaxy. It's a spiral with a bar, lowercase c, 104 million light years distant. As mentioned, we're a little more than almost 5.5 degrees in declination, and because we're using a 6-inch scope with a Rev 2 imager, a 6-inch scope like this would barely reveal this galaxy, and yet we are seeing extensions, and there are several galaxies in this field. 1, 2, 3, 4. What are all you galaxies existing for? Yay! GC 4274, galaxy in Gamma Berenices, almost 30 degrees in declination. Magnitude 10.4, 6.8 by 2.4 arc-minute spiral with the bar, lowercase ab, and a ring. I'm sure hoping we can see that ring. It's a 3-to-1 aspect ratio, which means it's suboblate. We're, as I said, almost 30 degrees in declination. The galaxy is 43 million light years distant. That puts it at about 60,000 light years in diameter. At a decent view, it is. NGC 4278, it's another galaxy in Gamma Berenices, wasn't too far from the last one. Magnitude 10.2, largish, 4 by 3.9 arc-minute elliptical, a mere 41 million light years distant. So this one is probably somewhere around 50,000 light years in diameter. We're at plus 29 and change degrees in declination. NGC 4281 is a galaxy in Virgo, magnitude 11.3, 3 by 1.6 arc-minutes, so almost a perfect oblately presented galaxy, spiral with a lowercase a, 131 million light years distant. We're at 5 and change degrees in declination, and we are now past the central meridian, which means things are heading for the Pente's western roof tri in a hurry. So hopefully we will get all the way up to 4298, which has 4302 in it as well. Great views from last night. Okay, this is a galaxy I'm looking at simply because I'm trying to probe how deep we can go tonight. This is NGC 4287. It's a galaxy in Virgo. Magnitude 15.2. It's 1.2 by 0.2 arc minutes, so it's a 6-to-1 edge-on spiral. I would love to be able to see this baby as an edge-on, but given the fact it's magnitude 15.2, could be a bit of a challenge. Galaxy is a spiral of class B, 100 million light years distant, and another problem we're having is it's getting down towards the celestial equator. I do believe the galaxy is on the screen, and I would expect to be able to see galaxies at least one magnitude fainter on a decent night of seeing. So let's go ahead and hopefully be able to find this galaxy on the manana. Okay, I've selected this galaxy, NGC 4292A, because it's also 15th magnitude, but it's smaller. 0.3 by 0.2 arc minutes, lenticular spiral. What I really like about this galaxy, it is located 927 million light years away, which puts it at about a redshift of about 0.1 or 10% off, where you'd expect to see the red line spectrum. Now, I don't believe this to be the galaxy. That's probably 4292 without the letter. We should be looking, oh yeah, there it is right there. So we are seeing a 15th magnitude galaxy, 927 million light years distant. And that is always something special. And until I see Quasar 3, I think it's C3, I have to look it up, but it should be on somewhere visible at some point, because I believe it's in Virgo. That would be the most distant, 3 billion light years distant study we'd have in the night sky, but it is also a quasar, intensely brilliant. However, there we go. Magnitude 15, 927 million light years distant. We have a real beauty here. This is NGC 4293, Galaxy in Comma Berenices, magnitude 10.4, 5.5 by 2.9 arc minutes. It's kind of giving it an edge-on view, but that's really a oblately presented galaxy. Spiral with a bar, which is probably one of the reasons why it looks distended. Lenticular A, so it's a half removed from the lenticular Z class, 55 million light years distant. That puts it at about 75,000 light years in diameter. We're at plus 18 and almost a half degrees in declination, and getting a fine view of this NGC 4293 galaxy, magnitude 10.4. Okay, what we're looking for now is the faintest galaxy that we will have encountered this evening, NGC 4297 in Virgo. It's magnitude 16 and smallish, 0.5 by 0.2 arc minute lenticular spiral, 191 million light years distant. It's almost plus 7 degrees in declination. Right ascension, 12 hour 21 and 27. I would think it would be vaguely detectable somewhere on the screen. I'll give it a moment as I go on to our next study, which I do believe is going to be part of that wonderful group pairing of galaxies, 4298 and 4302, which have a bridge of starry material that pass between them. Probably won't be able to detect it, however, through the scope this evening using this equipment set. But anyway, look around for that 16th magnitude galaxy, will you? NGC 4297. Might be right there. Should be seeing two galaxies, one edge on, I believe that's 4302, and the other is more or less oblately presented, that's 4298. NGC 4298 is a galaxy in Comma Berenices, magnitude 11.3, 3.2 by 1.9 arc minutes in size, so a little bit above the oblate aspect ratio. Spiral of lowercase c, 59 million light years distant. We're at plus 14.5 degrees in declination. And above it is NGC 4302, which we will go to in order to conclude the evening's imaging opportunities. As it continues to form, I'll look for the next study on the list. And as it turns out, watch us go to it. A little bit of a leap. And now the edge-on galaxy should be in the middle of the screen taking form. Let's watch that happen. I'll give you the data on NGC 4302. This will be our Carpe Noctem view for the evening. NGC 4302, companion galaxy to 4298. It's in Gamma Berenices, magnitude 11.6, so roughly the same brightness. Now this is a nice comparo because this is more edge-on. 5.3 by 1 arc-minute spiral of the lenticular of the class C, not lenticular, 3 times removed. It's 59 million light years distant, which puts it probably somewhere around 75 to 80,000 light years in diameter. We are at right ascension 12 hours 21 minutes and 42 seconds, declination 14 degrees 35 minutes 54 seconds. And I'm going to allow this baby to linger on the screen. I'm going to poke the next button just in case something really, oh, why not? 4303 is M61. Why don't we have a look at that before Carpe Noctem? And I thought I was going to bail with NGC 4302. Just plucking that next button revealed NGC 4303, aka Messier 61, magnitude 9.6, 6.5 by 5.9 arc minutes. A spiral with a bar, and between a B and a C, so 2.5 times removed from lenticular. This galaxy has a ring, and that should be pretty obvious there. Its spiral arms are really furled, which means it's probably rotating at a fairly high rate. There's plenty of texture to be seen in this galaxy. All kinds of H2 star-forming regions, wonderful, brilliant core. The extensions go out quite a ways from the core. I would say from the 9 to the 3 o'clock position, and then those spiral arms are just wrapping lovingly around itself. A beautiful galaxy, 63 million light years distant. And as I said, and at 6 arc minutes in size, major diameter, it's probably a little larger than our own Milky Way galaxy, maybe 110,000 light years in diameter. Before I Carpe Noctem out though, I'm going to run some tests here with the brightness of the screen, just for the experience of it. So I'm going to just do it here manually. Run the brightness down to 25% just as a test for future observing. Let's see what happens to the galaxy when we do that. Notice clearly the bar region exists between the middle and the top of the screen. So we're getting some real differences in contrast. This area of the screen is very pretty because it makes the stars look like they're up against a dark background. However, we would probably lose much in the way of texture in the galaxy if I were to shift it there. And that would probably be a good experiment. So let me go ahead and give that a shot so we can see how that works. Now, hopefully I can hold this in the right way. Now watch the core. It's going to take a while to leap. I just tapped it 5 times. I think it headed in the wrong direction, didn't it? Yep. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now we'll shoot it off in the other direction. That didn't seem to go far enough, did it? All right, that's the middle of the screen. Let's let that baby develop there so we can get a sense of it. Still, it's in a fairly brighter portion of the screen. Let's do 5 more clicks. Put it down into the dark region. Doesn't seem like it jumped that far. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 more clicks. All right, perfect. All right, let's see if we lose texture down in this portion of the screen. Looking at it, and it's got to have more of an opportunity to develop, I can see the extensions, I can see some of the wrappings. But frankly, although the stars may present more attractively, I don't know. What do you think? I'll give it another 10 or 20 seconds to form so we can compare the three, and maybe I'll take some snapshots of the three different locations for the video tomorrow so we can get a sense of both the trade-offs between the aesthetics of the view and the amount of texture that you can see based on whether you're seeing the screen, something placed in the brighter part of the screen or the fainter part of the screen. And that may instruct me as to how I want to adjust the brightness in the future. So right now it's at 25%. We started initially at 50% setting. So what I may do is return to 50% setting, and then based on what I see on the screen tomorrow, make some adjustments. Not bad though. It looks aesthetically very pleasing in the darker part of the screen. I'm going to really have to pour over it, and so will you if you want to come up with your own conclusions in this matter. So, bidding you adieu, carpe noctem.